Steep, steeper, the steepest. The City Hill Climb course in Salzburg is 900 meters long and takes cyclists from Capital Square up to Hohen Salzburg Fortress. The spectacular race has been taking place in Salzburg's Old Town since 2021. The course has a gradient of up to 32% over asphalt, cobblestones and sandy sections up to one of the landmarks of the city of Mozart. Where tourists normally stroll and take photos, Austria's best climbers are now getting down to business in a direct duel at the City Hill Climb. 3 years ago, I was on vacation with my wife in Salzburg and hiked up to the fortress. When I was up there, I said that I wanted to do a bike race here. I sat down and came up with a concept and looked for contacts in Salzburg, and then I was surprised at how openly I was received. Everyone was behind me and said, "Do it." The City Hill Climb was the impetus for cycling to really awaken again in the city, but also in the country. I hope that it continues like this because sport and movement is very important. And for the youth and offspring, we also need figureheads. Felix Gall is one of them, because this summer the East Tyrolean won the prestigious Queen's Stage of the Tour de France and achieved something that only a few Austrians had achieved before. It's something special, something unusual and really special. The atmosphere and the scenery are cool here. For the 25-year-old, it is one of his first appearances in Austria after his great successes at the highest level of cycling. Already in the qualification, he shows all his skills with the absolute best time and is frenetically cheered on by the many spectators on his debut ride. I had some respect for the gravel section, which is very steep, but it went quite well. I didn't have any special tyres on, so I wasn't sure whether it would work. I can imagine, especially in the later stages when you get to the gravel section, that it will be a big challenge with 2 or 3 riders. Someone who wants to challenge Gall this afternoon is Daniel Federspiel. The Tyrolean won the 2021 and 2022 events. We train all year round and have a race every weekend. In between you do almost nothing but recover, so there's no special preparation that I do. I'm happy, I'm having fun, and it's definitely going to be a great race. In the qualification, Federspiel tries to save his strength for the heats to follow. He very much appreciates the ever-growing crowd of spectators. It was really cool last year, and the thank you goes to the spectators at the side of the track. You can't ride slowly with that noise. At the third stop of the new event in Salzburg, you can feel the growing experience of the organisational team. Cycling at the highest level in the city centre also requires a creative concept for running the race. Numerous helpers are responsible for the smooth running process. It takes an organizer who has this crazy idea. You need athletes who like to ride something like that, and then you need support. It's an extremely cool event that is certainly a flagship event for Salzburg. The trademark of the event has certainly become the numerous spectators who frenetically cheer on the athletes during the short but crisp mountain spectacle. It's a special story. I think the atmosphere is cool in the middle of the city in front of the spectators and people who can see our sport directly. That makes the whole thing special. And the party atmosphere at the side of the route also helps you cope with the steep climb. With the spectators, you forget the pain a little. It's unique. The spectators carry you up. They are the last % of strength that allows you to get up here and get everything out of your body. And especially in the fortress, where the gradient rises to a maximum of 32%, the encouragement is particularly necessary for many of the amateur athletes who struggle there. The people are cheering you on. This is something special. I'll make sure that I can get away from the front and have a lot of traction so that I can stay on the bike for as long as possible. When it's time to click out, you have to run. I'm not a bad runner. I became Tyrolean champion and second at the Austrian Championships. The mountain and I make a good team. Salzburg's Dominik Hödelmoser is one of Austria's mountain bike talents. This year, the local hero is trying his hand at racing bikes. You try to save as much energy as possible for the final stretch on the gravel. With a racing bike, it is critical that you still have the traction to get up at all. Of course, you know how you have to move on the bike in order to have the weight perfectly distributed. But not only the adults find their stage at the City Hill climb, the young ones are also well represented and swing up the hairpin bends to the fortress entrance. The participants are still too young for the very steep part of the race, but perhaps the future stars will grow up here. The commitment to mountain sprinting can definitely be equated with the other athletes, who are still the great role models for many of the young athletes.
Daniel Federspiel, dein Favorit für heute? Warum bist du Fan von ihm?
He rides for the same team and he's a pretty ambitious guy. The mood among the elite is relaxed before the elimination heats, and tour hero Gal is also clearly enjoying his appearance in Salzburg and his role as a figurehead for local cycling. A lot has happened since the tour and I've tried to recover. It was a lot of attention. A lot of people suddenly want something from you, which is good. You can enjoy it. But you have to be careful that the training doesn't fall by the wayside. The East Tyrolean easily qualifies for the final, ploughs through the starting field in the semi-finals, and is certainly being hunted in the final run with his fast kick, especially in the steepest sections of the race.
Jetzt warst du Vorlaufschnellster, hat eigentlich relativ locker ausgeschaut bei dir.
The gearing on my bike is too heavy. I can't ride any slower, otherwise I would fall over. Others, however, have more trouble than Gal, for whom the heats almost look like play.
Ich bin überhaupt nicht der Sprintertyp in Kurzdistanz. Allerdings
I'm not the sprinter type at all, but I live on an 18% gradient at home, so I'm used to it when I get home. The steepest parts of the race begin, especially after entering through the lower fortress gate. Once the fortress is reached, the steepness does not decrease, but increases to the maximum. I wasn't at my limit yet, but I was already sweating. But I tried to save something for the final. The steep route can be completed not only on a racing bike, but also on a mountain bike. With the lower gear ratios and wider tyres, the steepness is a little more bearable, but it is by no means easy. It gets pretty steep at the last curve. The tyres are helpful on the mountain bike, and the gear ratio works quite well for the steep ones.
Genau, also die Übersetzung passt gut.
6 athletes have qualified for the women's final. From the start, Tyrolean Belinda Holzer ensures a fast pace. She already sets herself apart from her opponents in the lower section on the cobblestones, and the closer she gets to the fortress, the more Holzer's lead increases. She purposefully aims for the fortress gate and struggles over the steep climbs. But they never lose sight of their opponents. Holzer drives into the heart of the fortress as the leader, but has to dismount on the steep section. Since her opponents have to do the same, the Tyrolean's lead remains constant. Behind, everything is still close together, and the German Marion Fromberger is the only one to complete the climb sitting on her bike and begins her race to catch up. Holzer slips in the last corner, has to pick up her bike and starts running the last 50 meters. Behind them, Fromberger is getting closer and closer to the Austrian. Meter by meter, she's able to catch up, but at the finish line, Holzer is still just ahead and wins the city hill climb for the first time. I thought I had to go full throttle again, but that was too early. It went wrong, but then I just ran and it still worked out successfully. The emotions, but also the relief, are great after almost 5 exhausting minutes. In the men's final, the big duel is Felix Gall against Daniel Federspiel. But 10 other competitors also qualified for the final. In the heats, we divided our strength up as best we could. Now we're excited to see how the final will go.
Felix, wie geht's da kurz vorm Start?
I'm surprised at how well things have gone for me so far. I haven't had any problems on the gravel yet, but it can quickly happen if you have to get off. In the men's race, there are 12 riders in the final, and the 2 favourites don't come off well. Gall doesn't immediately find his way into the pedal of his crank, but quickly starts to catch up. At the front, however, it is the outsiders who quickly make the race up to the fortress with early attacks. The Tyrolean, Manuel Bosch, attacks before the first gate and has a few meters lead when the steepest parts begin. That's where Federspiel and Gall begin to put their stamp on the race. Meter by meter, they catch up with Bosch and quickly pass him. Gall increases the pace, but Federspiel counters and attacks the Tour stage winner before the steepest section. Here he can then increase his lead and pull away. Behind them, the opponents have to struggle with the steep terrain and even falls. Federspiel is the first rider to emerge from the tunnel with a slight lead, and he completes the last corner with confidence. So nothing stands in the way of his 3rd win in a row. Rejoicing, he crosses the finish line first, ahead of Gall. The German, Florenz Knauer, came 3rd. It's really cool. I wouldn't have expected that. The competition was extremely strong, and I didn't know how to approach the final. Felix was brutally powerful. He attacked at the start and I thought I had no chance. Then I tried it on the gravel, came over and it worked out. The lungs are really burning now. With gravel you have to be careful and choose the right line, but it's a cool event. After the storming of the fortress, the award ceremony takes place at Capitol Square. As in previous years, the city hill climb caused a lot of tension and excitement, and many of the athletes can tell exciting episodes from this unique race. With Belinda Holzer, there is a new winning face among the women, while Daniel Federspiel remains the lord of the fortress in Salzburg among the men. The event will return to the city of Mozart in 2024.